Hey everybody. Wow, that's booming. So welcome to the art and some science of influential communication. And first of all, thank you to the Nerd 9 staff for hosting. Thank you to Annie for telling me about this. And Sam, thanks for helping me finalize the slide deck. I'm super excited. Trigger warning. Where do I point this?
Press down to continue. Thank you, sir.
All right. Introverts.
Right.
Audience participation ahead. I can feel the anxiety going up in the room. So this is part of the talk I want to give, is how would I know to start a conversation with a room full of people by warning the introverts what's going to happen. I wanted to find a couple things. So we'll do a little shadow puppet right here. The talk is influential communication, but influencing is not domination. This is not teaching you to become a used car salesman and force someone to do something they don't want to do. And this right here, this is adapting. We'll get to that in just a second. And adapting who you are is not manipulation. So I just want to set those two parameters for you. Down arrow. Okay. So I'm sure this has not happened to anybody in this room. You've never been misunderstood. You've never bombed a presentation. You've never been frustrated communicating with somebody. And I know none of you have frustrated anybody else when you've been communicating, right? So if this doesn't apply to you, you can just go back downstairs and come up for the next talk. So who am I? I was a software engineer, and yeah, it took a long, circuitous path. And what this says right here is that I spent a couple years in training and development. And I basically lied my way into this job, that I could do cold calls and I could sell, and I needed the money, so I got this job. And I was a professional facilitator for a training and development company in Denver. So I would sell multi-day courses to companies. So I would sell to chief revenue officer, or chief human resource officers, chief learning officers. And from there, I was teaching a course called Improving Personal Effectiveness. So it was a 2-day course, rolled out to companies. I taught at Baylor School of Nursing, Hunt Oil, Super Value grocery stores, everything from conflict resolution to active listening. But it opened the door to me to understanding that there's a lot of learning that you can do as an adult. When I graduated college, I thought I was done with my education. And it also opened up the door to this philosophy, which is that everything is a skill. So if you want to learn how to shoot a free throw, you want to learn how to play guitar, you want to learn how to paint, it's a skill. Will you master it? Probably not. You're going to be frustrated, you're going to suck at it, but you can learn different things. And so this is where I started learning about communication. So who's heard of or taken at least one of these assessments? Onboarding, great, everybody. So like Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFJ. And what these assessments are great for, in my opinion, is learning about yourself. But where some of these stopped short was, how do I interact with somebody else? So as an E, as an extrovert, how do I interact with an I, an introvert? And the course that I taught focused on DISC. And so DISC focuses on a few things. That focuses on behaviors. A behavior is something that you can see, and that you can adapt to different behaviors. So back when we all were going to offices, did you ever walk into somebody's office and it was clean, neat, the pencils are lined up? Or somebody else's office where there's paper stacked everywhere? That's a behavior, right? The tidiness is a behavior. It's something that you can see. And so I had mentioned that adapting is not changing who you are. Think of this like translating. It's so much easier to go to a foreign country when you know the language. So think about this like a translation. So one of the things I really like to point out is that all of our behaviors are strengths until they're overused. And I can't really get into that in this short amount of time. But we all have different things we bring to our work life, our professional life, and our personal life. And so let's start with the D's. And these individuals are direct and demanding. And there's another word for D people. Anybody know what that is? Anybody raise your hand? Anybody want to shout it out? Yes, there you go. So in this world, we would always kind of tease the people that, hey, your D is showing. Right? So these are people that will interrupt you, that have a high degree of dominance. We're going to get to that in a second. The I's, that's me, all over, all day long. I'm an influencer, not Instagram influencer, but I'm innovative, I'm enthusiastic. The S's, these are people that are steady, they're stable, they're service-oriented. They're all about the team, right? And the C's, these people here, these are conscientious, compliant, and cautious. And being cautious, this is a strength. So back, 15 years ago when I was perfect and I knew everything, the C individuals would drive me crazy because I would have this great idea like, hey, I got my tax return and I got a bonus check. Let's fly to Paris tomorrow. Let's just blow this, right? And the C's would go, is your passport up to date? It's a summer month, it's really busy. Airline travel is really expensive. And I would take that as criticism, that they were not believing my idea. But in fact, they are really trying to help me succeed. And so as part of my evolution, my growth, I was like, oh, so what I'll do now is I'll have this innovative idea and I'll hand it over to somebody that is a detail person and go, poke holes in this. Tell me why this isn't going to work. And it makes it so much better. So, again, this is super short. When I taught this course, this whole portion was half a day. So I'm just going to give you like the single grain of rice here. So when you're observing people, and maybe for the next day or two at work, think about three things: dominance, pace, and responsiveness. Now for your detail people, this is not a 3-digit decimal point number. This is not 7.995. This is more or less. This is a continuum. And so the dominance, ever been on a call where somebody just interrupts because they have a question? That's a high degree of dominance. Pace, does somebody talk really fast? Are they in motion? Are they just moving around a bit high energy? Or are they more still? Are they, their pace is slower? And responsiveness, this gentleman here, very unresponsive. I'm not taking it like he doesn't like me. He's just not responsive, right? Now 10 years ago, I would have taken it personal, but not today. So as you're evaluating people, I want to say not judging, you're evaluating people, think about these three things. And again, just more or less. Now we're going to start getting into the adapting side of things. And as you're, so there's a big red D up here, trust me. So as you're going through this, again, I'm giving you like the first page of this. You could probably get people in the upper half or the lower half. Somebody's more dominant, more responsive, or they're less dominant, less responsive. So you could probably guess pretty well if somebody's a D or an I or an S or a C. And that's good enough to start out. The more that you study this, the more that you work on it, you'll be able to get them into a quadrant. But for the start, 50-50 is just fine. So one of the exercises we used to do is after everybody took a DISC assessment, we would break them apart from the groups and have them 1, 2, 3, 4, DISC. And we'd have this exercise where we're trying to sell the Snaptron 4000 into your company. And these items here, just random numbers, and then all these available documents here. And so the D's would sell to the C's, the I's to the S's, and vice versa. So what would that look like? Let's start adapting. So for the D's, be brilliant, be brief, and be gone. And what this says right here is get to the motherfucking point. Okay? I once had a 7-minute meeting with a CHRO in San Antonio, and I walked out and I just went, and I wasn't stressed. I was talking so fast because he wanted single word answers. He wanted the shortest possible bumper stickers for that. And the thing about dealing with a big D is that if they want more information, they will ask for it. So if they tell you yes, thank you, and then just get out, all right? So for the I's, be interesting, be high energy, tell me a story, invoke my imagination. For the S's, let's talk about the team, let's be supportive, let's talk about how that means to them. And then for the C's, this was always my challenge, selling to a C individual, because it was every single detail, every single fact. And if I got one wrong, my credibility went in the toilet. And so I had to dig back out. Now, does any of that sound like trickery, like we're trying to fool anybody? We're just trying to adapt. We're trying to meet people in the middle and go a little bit 10% farther. So, here's how we sell the Snacktron to a D. I would probably present this verbally. I would have the decision, and this is literally enough information for them to get a decision or ask you for more information. I would just go, hey Dave, I found this snack service for $300 a month, $1,500 deposit. We have the budget, can I do this? I would say it fast, ask a question, get the decision. And if that person wants more information, they will ask me for it. If they say yes, like I said, get out. You will annoy them if you stick around. So, how would you sell to me? Tell me a story. Entertain me. Invoke my imagination. You know how we're always struggling during meetings because we're hungry? And when I always start talking about lunch, it has your favorite snack food, and then here's the same information down at the bottom. Can I get this going? So a little bit softer of an ask. Still the same information, just framed a little bit differently. Selling to the S's. I would probably set an appointment and do this via email. And I would focus on the team. So I'm not going to read all this to you, but collaboration, I'd like your help. I propose. Support the team. Show we care. And then, can I provide more information? What questions do you have? And in person, I would talk a little bit slower. An S person is not stupid. I'm not talking slower because they can't process information. I'm talking slower because they're taking it all in and making a decision. Now, where's my detail people? Raise your hand if you see it. Annie, what is it?
The spelling?
Yes. So this is a graphic that I created, that I sent to Nerd Night. And you know when I noticed it? Sunday when I was doing this slide. So, obviously attention to detail is not my strength. And if I don't have the little wavy line, I think it's spelled correctly. So yeah, thank you. Oh, and introverts thus concludes the audience participation. You can all. So how would I sell to a C individual? I want to be very detailed, logical, and fact-driven. I actually had to reduce the font on this because of the information. But that's what that person is needing and expecting. And I'm not tricking them. And so I've researched the benefits. Studies show attached. I've worked out the budget, also attached. I've attached a breakdown of the costs and expected benefits. Please let me know if you'd like additional information. I'd like to know your concerns. I didn't ask for a decision here. I didn't try to close them. And then would Friday be enough time to review? So that is a very brief overview of selling the different styles. And like I said, everything is a skill, and you have a choice. You can poop alone, or poop with a friend, but why leave it to chance, right? Why leave the door open? Take some time, improve your skills, have a conversation, and all we're looking to do is it's all about understanding and just adapting who you are so that you can reach an understanding and have a better relationship with the people in your life. And that's it. Questions? Oh, yeah. If you have questions, shoot me an email. But do we have time for questions? Yes.
So supposing you are trying to sell something, you're going into meeting with a stranger. Are you spending the first minute or two trying to assess which part of the quadrant they are?
Absolutely. Yeah, and back in the days of in-person meetings, I would look at their desk. Typically, I would have had a conversation on the phone with them. But nowadays, if it's a Zoom call, I will ask questions such as, well, what do you expect to get out of this call? Like, hey, I have an agenda, but I'd like to know what you think. And if it's very terse, if it's bullet pointed, all right, that's different. But if it's a longer narrative, asking for more information, pricing, terms and conditions, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it a different way.
Sometimes people are a bit more complex than just a single.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and that's a very good point, because the one thing I would always say about DISC is that this is accurate most of the time. It can be dependent on when you take an assessment. We never said the word test because it's not pass-fail. There's no good, better, or best style. So it could be if your mindset is at work, mindset's at home, it can be different. So it's just a piece of information.
Most of the people are in the center or on the other sides?
It varies. It varies. It's very rare that somebody's all just even across the board. Yeah, everybody has different degrees of that for sure. Like some people will change at work, and there's things called the adaptive and natural style, which I didn't have time to get into, but when you're relaxed, that's who you are. But if you're under stress, do you change? Right? So yeah, everybody has strengths. I had to learn how to increase my attention to detail. That's why I was a terrible engineer, is that I can barely spell. Right? And with pacemakers, that shit has to work, right? So, like, okay. So, yes, we all have these strengths, right? Yes?
Do you ever monitor someone's physical clues, like scratching their nose or repeating their, scrubbing their ears or something to see if they're, to guess their personality?
That's a good question. I never have.
You know, kind of like the FBI kind of thing.
I wish I had that level of skills, yeah. I mean, I would maybe see if they were like in motion. Like I fidget all the time. I cannot sit still. I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you have been walking around.
Oh yeah. Right. I'm like a shark. If I stop moving, I'll die. Yes.
What do you do when the person falls asleep in the meeting? What do you do?
Just try to clear your throat a couple of times. I will say that one of the best meetings I ever had was that same business trip in San Antonio. And I took a client out for dinner, and between the two of us, we split 3 bottles of Chardonnay. And yeah, the next morning, an 8 a.m. meeting, and the person I was presenting to at the end of it was like, thank you so much for just a relaxing conversation. Like I felt like you really listened and understood. And it's like, You're very welcome. And I went back to the car in the parking garage and I took a nap for like an hour because I think I was probably a little drunk still. But again, it was not an intentional adaptation, but it worked. You had a question, yeah?
Can you describe a little bit more about how you assess responsiveness?
About
Responsiveness, how you, like, you were talking about the 3 different, like, assessments that you're
Oh.
doing, and like, how, like, what are you looking for?
The simplest thing would be if somebody smiles. Like if you say something that you feel is remotely amusing or like an icebreaker, and if they smile or not. I've presented this good friend of mine, Tom, for like an hour. He didn't move, which was kind of unnerving, right? But he was taking it all in. And then the questions he asked me at the end of the sales presentation were detailed and knowledgeable and incredibly educated. And he's just, I'm just speculating, but he's filtering everything else out except for that flow of information. I couldn't do that for $15,000. I could not sit still for an hour. Yeah.
Really?
So, if you got the cash flow, you'll give it a shot. How are we doing on time? Anybody?
You got one question?
Sure, yeah.
With information being available, when you research a person presented to the suit, you get a good view on what
Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, do I research people's interests and things like that? I would if I got the sense that they were an I individual. Somebody that's a D, if I started talking about, hey, I live in Fort Collins, like I saw you went to CSU, they'd be like, why are you wasting my time with this?
Because you might even know that. You could have some general indication of where they might fall in, depending what you are.
Oh, based on their job description, absolutely. Yeah, so if I'm talking to like a CFO versus a chief marketing officer, absolutely I'm gonna change my presentation style. Yeah, 100%. Yes?
Matt, how do you deal with like the second approach? Let's say you get rejected the first time. You just talked about like the first sort of win, but if you get rejected, how do you come back to each of those styles? Kind of.
Oh, like if you guess wrong? Or they say
so
no.
If they just say no, say maybe you're having a bad day, don't you go back for a second time? And how do you approach each of those styles without offending them?
Are we talking like in a sales situation where you're selling to these individuals and they say no?
Extrapolate from what you just presented. So let's just say that you've got rejection from an S. What would be your next move? You have to win. What do you do next?
Well, you have to really try hard with those styles not to offend them, honestly, because it'll be perceived as pressure. Like if a D rejects me, we can get in this heated argument, and at the end of it, we come to a consensus, and neither one of us would think that this was personal. We'd go out and have cocktails. But if I was pressuring an S or a C person, and they're like, why do you keep, like I've told you no, and I've given you the evidence, you told me no. That's part of just being, you gotta know when to quit. Does that answer your question?
Let's switch it from a sales product scenario to like a Shark Tank pitch on an idea. How would you, kind of wear them down?
I would, honestly. Yeah, when I was in EE.
Obviously, I'm a D. So teach me as a female D how to be.
Oh my goodness. How much time do you have?
I was just curious. Thank you.
See, the misconception about the D is that they don't have feelings, that they don't care. Like, I'm sure you're very passionate. Like, you care. Your feelings can get hurt, correct?
Of course.
Yeah. But because the other styles perceive your natural state as perhaps aggressive, that it seems like you're just on the attack all the time. Does that help? Is
So I
that?
have to insert a little S.
Pretend to care. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Can you tell me more about it? Like, what?
Yeah, you get curious, in your tone,
Yeah.
and you invite them in.
Yeah.
It's like Shark Tank, and
Yeah.
then you get them.
Yeah, so like the next meeting where you're literally vibrating off of your motor mounts because they're still talking about this. And I know the answer I'm gonna give them, and it's like another fucking 3 minutes that they're talking. Just take a breath, try to be still, yeah. Because it's as much a challenge for you to adapt to that style as for them not to take your style personally. Does that finally answer your question?
Just trying to figure out the dance, like the next step. For
Yeah.
strangers, not like-
Yeah. Time? How are you doing? Huh? How long was this supposed to be? I didn't even read it. Annie, how long was this supposed to be up here?
But, 20 minutes and 10 minutes to talk, but, I mean, if people are jiving.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
How do you address a group rather than an individual?
Ah, that's a great question. Now that I've got the slide deck, I can go back here.
Group of friends?
Yes. This'll work. This'll work. That's a great question, by the way. So if I was actually presenting a broad topic to this group, I would present in this order. I would present the D's. It's like, what is the decision we're trying to make? Thank you. What's the decision we're going to make? I'm going in order of what's important to them, and also in the order that they're going to check out and lose interest. So for you, we're going to decide like how many beers we're going to order. For the I's, I'm going to tell a story about this product. I'm not going to make any false claims or anything. I'm just going to tell a narrative about, hey, like this does this. We've had customers that do this. The S's, again, I want to talk about the team. I'm going to get them involved. So they're going to start thinking about, oh, yeah, maybe we could do this. Maybe some of our folks have complained about this. And then for the C's, I'm going to go into the terms and conditions. I'm going to go into the pricing. I'm going to go into the warranty, all of that stuff. And then I'll just take the presentation somewhat in that order.
Addressing every point, just going around the circle?
Yeah, yeah. Because it's a guess. Like, I don't know anybody's style in here. I know a few people, but yes.
Just on that point, I'd really like to make it. I used to be a disc advisor for Shell, and they had an interview group team. And I suggested to them that they actually chose their interviewers based on the diversity of this, all the disc. And they were very successful because they saw different aspects of the interviewees. And in their assessment process, they would, see the bigger picture. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In the back, yes.
I'm a C, so it's taken a while to formulate my questions.
And the fact that you spoke up, congratulations. Yes, it's a big hand for this guy.
That's all I'm gonna say. No, taking the Shark Tank question, I'm actually kind of thinking on to another level. We're talking about kind of sales situations where everybody is pulling in the same direction, positive environment. What if we're in situations where it's more adversarial? I'm thinking of like school board meetings or city council meetings, but areas where people are not pulling in the same direction and really butting heads. And just trying to picture how this kind of framework could be helpful to manage those kind of situations.
Yeah, you raise a great question. And the hour and a half course that this comes from is that everybody's in sales, okay? And that definition, I define sales as the transfer of belief and overcoming objections. And that's a very simple way to look at it. But if you're in direct opposition, that's tough. That's the toughest sales role to be in. Because you've got to find some common, this now starts getting to like negotiation more than anything else. At this point, if like in your school board example, if they're diametrically opposed and dug in, and we are not going to do this over my dead body kind of stuff, it doesn't matter what the personality is. Then you're starting to get into negotiation tactics, and And again, there's libraries of this stuff or skills, but then now we're talking about emotions getting involved and affecting decision making and all those things. And your challenge is the best you can to try to be calm when that barking dog is at the end of their chain and attacking you. Because the amygdala doesn't work if you're under stress and you can't make those rational decisions. So, good luck. I mean, that's, yeah. Sorry, no photos, please. Yeah.
That's it. Let's,
Thank you.
all right. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Let's thank our speaker, Matt Sodnicar. I know I have to talk next, and that makes me nervous. So we're going to take like a 10-minute break. It's about 10 till, so we'll be back right at the top of the hour. We will have the yearbook up here if you want to sign that. Otherwise, you grab a drink, go to the restroom, and see you back in 10 minutes. Thank you.